Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F, or Revival of F, depending on which title you prefer to go by. But I saw this movie earlier today. I actually got to see it in theaters because my friend just, by random happenstance, he had an extra ticket, so I actually got to go see this at the movies, which was really cool because I've wanted to see a ton of different anime movies in theaters, but they of course always have like their 3 day window, which I really had. I wish we did get full theatrical releases like they do in Japan and stuff. That would be really awesome because I'd love to see a ton of different movies I would have actually paid to go see. But I haven't seen an anime movie in theaters since like Pokemon 2000. I may have seen the third one, I don't even remember. But I was really excited to see this movie, and it was definitely fun. It was actually a really good movie. Of course, this review is going to be spoiler free. I'll do like a spoiler section after my main review. I actually haven't seen Battle of the Gods yet, so technically I know how that ended because this movie has probably the most references to the previous film than any other Dragon Ball Z movie has ever had. Like any other time, it's like, oh well, here's a DBZ movie, and then here's another DBZ movie, and it's just blank. It boom. It's separate stories. No big deal. It's nothing. But these last two movies actually go together really well, and I actually think that's pretty cool because they haven't done that. It's always just here's a DBZ movie, and it's just an awesome movie, but they rarely ever tie in together. I think the only ones that ever really did were like the Broly movies because they have like the original one, and then they kind of didn't. They weren't as good when he came back. It was kind of weird when he came back like way later in the future and stuff. But those are like the only ones because they have the same villain, and some other ones, I guess, some of the villains are just some characters that are in multiple movies, aside from the heroes, obviously. But I loved it. I thought it was really cool. Even not seeing the last one, I technically know how that one ended because um, of just some of the stuff that happens, and I don't want to spoil that if you haven't seen it, and for whatever reason you're watching a review on this one. But they do reference it a lot. I think one of the coolest things about this movie is that it's actually really, really funny. There are like a ton of jokes. Some stuff is just like characters saying certain things to each other. Some stuff is without a doubt like once you hear it, you're like automatically they got that because we as fans say the same stuff all the time. It's like, oh, these characters are like really, really weak, and it's like, oh, I left them behind. That's why they're not in this movie because they're so weak. And I thought that was the funniest stuff. Is like that's totally what people say as fans, and some of the jokes are just like taken from the community, and it's actually really awesome. Just a ton of jokes. It was just jokes throughout this whole movie, and they were all really funny. And people would be laughing. It was the type of jokes where people would really laugh out loud, and you'd miss the next line. It happened like 3 or 4 separate times where so many people were laughing. The next line is just like I don't even know what they said. Mouths were moving, and it was just like I can't hear anything because that joke was just really funny. But lots and lots of comedy. The most comedy I've ever seen in a DBZ movie. I don't know if it was like that in the previous one, but this one has a ton of jokes. They're definitely good jokes too. I don't think any of them fell flat. As far as I was concerned, at least I thought they were all pretty funny. Like I said, jokes about the characters. Pretty much all jokes about the characters. People just saying silly stuff. And it was just really fun. It was definitely really funny. The action was good too. It was, of course, coming off of Battle of the Gods. It was like, hey, here's that brand new power, that everyone kind of wants to see. And it was pretty cool. One thing that was really interesting is that they kind of skip over the red hair version from the last film, and they go straight to blue. It's like, you know what, like, nope, just it's there, but you want to see it, you go to that movie. It's like, nope, we're skipping that and going straight to that big blue hair stuff, which I hadn't seen until recently, actually. Like, I had just recently seen that because I hadn't really watched anything. I had no idea about the blue hair. I thought it was only the red hair version. And then I saw that in like a gameplay thing, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. So it was still relatively new when I saw the blue hair version for Goku, which was pretty cool. I like that design. And I actually like that way more than the red, which kind of just makes me think of Kaioken, honestly, even though his hair technically does change instead of it being black. But I thought that was really cool. Of course, Golden Frieza, which isn't a spoiler because I'm pretty sure that was in the very first trailer. If you didn't know that Frieza had a new form, then sorry. But that's not really a spoiler. That's like just there. That's one of the big things they showed off. It was actually really cool. When they showed it off, like, of course they don't even bother. Like, once again, it's just like, here's what you kind of want to see. Like, they have the other forms, but for the most part, it's like this is the new thing, and boom, here it is. So that's pretty cool. Like you actually see Frieza in a couple forms. You actually see him in a couple forms that you probably wouldn't even expect, or at least one specifically. But it was really cool. Like Frieza coming back was awesome. Frieza was still Frieza, so it was still like deadly powerful Frieza. You get some interesting backstory, which I'll talk about in the spoiler section. There are like a couple random little things where it's like that's very interesting. Um, stuff that they put in this movie, and it's like it could just be little references for future films. So we'll kind of have to wait and see, especially with the new series coming out and all that stuff. I don't know if we're gonna get a third movie after this one before the next series comes out, or if there's one in production or anything like that. But the action is definitely good. The animation, of course, is amazing, which is nothing new. I mean, the last film I'm sure looked great, but it's like just the animation that we see in the Dragon Ball Z Kai opening, or Dragon Ball Kai, I guess they don't even say Z Kai, but it's that type of animation, what we were all hoping Kai would be when it started up, and it just looks great, like amazing. They have like the sort of the anime 3D, which we all know we've seen in. There's if you've seen anime, you've seen the anime 3D where it's like you just can't draw it in 2D, and it just looks good. Like all that looks good. It happens for when they have a bunch of people on screen. It happens for some of the characters doing like just certain actions they can't do 2D, but it all looks good. It's it's very well done. It's not like where it's super blatant 3D. It's like the good. It has really good cell shading and stuff like that, and it's like okay, well, you can tell it's obviously 3D, but it does look very, very close to the actual animation, like the 2D animation. So I love that because there's kind of nothing worse when it's like really blatant 3D and it's too much of a difference. And this was like very, very close. I think the closest I've ever seen um, in an anime. So I thought that was actually really good, and they could have just done it up because it's a film. But either way, it looks amazing. Like I said, the jokes were good. The action was good. Story was very simple. It was Frieza's back, fight. So that's plain and simple. We got to see a bunch of different people fight, which was pretty cool. Um, a lot of the classic moves were in this, which I really enjoyed. It was like a lot of callbacks and stuff. Like here's this move that you like. Here's this move that you like. This and that, and it was just really nice and fun. We got to see little baby Pan again is in this for like a quick second. I mean, obviously there's no focus because she's a baby, but it was definitely nice. It was really a really fun movie. Well, I can't say I was really surprised. I was excited to see it. I figured it would be a fun, DBZ movie, and it definitely was. One thing that did happen in this that really surprised me, and I think it's only happened maybe 2 times that I can really think of ever in all of Dragon Ball Z, and that's I think in one of the other movies. I can't remember the name of the villain, but it was when like Goku and Vegeta were fighting in Hell, and this was during the time when whenever one of the times I guess Vegeta was dead, and it was like this blob villain, and then the main form was like this super cool form, and it could like teleport and stuff, and it looked like it would turn into blocks and digitize. In that fight, Vegeta was pretty cool. I really enjoyed that. And then I think like when Vegeta was Majin Vegeta and they couldn't just instantaneously beat him when he was a villain, those were probably the only 2 times I feel like Vegeta really got a bunch of respect. And this was probably the third time where I was like, Vegeta finally gets like some decent respect. And I'll talk a lot more about that in the spoiler thing, but I loved it. I always like seeing Vegeta not just be like, not like he is when he's in the Broly movie. The first one, that's probably the most disrespectful scene they've ever given Vegeta in anything that I've ever seen for Dragon Ball Z. It's like he was scared to fight the entire movie, and then spoiler alert, I guess, for this really old movie. It's one of my favorites too, but that's always the funniest thing. That's always what I kind of hate. It was like, man, he was scared to fight the whole time. Everybody gets beat up and stuff, and then he's like, you know what? I'm the Prince of all Saiyans. He got punched like twice, and then he was out of the fight, and that was it. He was scared for like 12 minutes. Trunks is fighting, Gohan is fighting, Goku, Piccolo, and then they all get beat up. They're getting slammed into these buildings and this and that. And he's like, I'm gonna do it. Block, punch, slam, and then he's out. He was Super Saiyan for like literally a minute, and then it was like, oh, I got beat up, and he was done. So great contrast to that, and that's what I'm always gonna think of. But I love the movie. I'm really excited for the future of the series because we're getting a new one, which I'm just excited to have new Dragon Ball Z. Like it's gonna have great animation. Who knows what the stories are gonna be? I assume it's gonna be in this timeline between the films and GT, which technically isn't canon. So that's one of the other things I'm very curious about with like the Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan stuff. Um, what they're gonna do for Goku and things like that. Like, are we ever gonna get Super Saiyan 4 again? And that was another thing where it was like that isn't necessary anymore. So we got rid of that, and so I'm just curious what we're gonna get. And if we do get another film, I'm excited to see what they kind of come up with before the series and stuff like that. But definitely love the movie. I'd highly recommend it. I think it was a great DBZ movie. I'm pretty sure I've seen every Dragon Ball Z movie except for the very last one. And this was definitely up there. I thought it was pretty cool. Some of the other ones do have deeper stories. And this one, I believe, it's about 2 hours long. It's actually a fairly long movie. It's actually pretty cool. Um, it doesn't have the deepest story ever because it is really just Frieza comes back and Frieza wants revenge. That's really the story, and then it's just fighting, which is actually pretty awesome. But I do love some of the other stories that have like really deep stories, like the Broly stuff. I think has a great story for that first film that he's in, and the stuff like I can't even think the one for Goku's father for Bardock. That's one of my favorite movies too. I really love that one. Um, just all of those, just really, really great stories. And this one was like fairly simplistic, but it was still really, really good. There were a lot of great callbacks, like to certain story moments, like with Trunks having come in and when he destroyed Frieza in robot form, and it was just like boom, done. And so there were a lot of really cool callbacks and stuff like that. But I really love this film. I'm excited. It's got me really excited actually for the new series because I was excited, but it was like, it's new Dragon Ball Z. I'm gonna watch it, but this had me like really excited because just the writing is different than it used to be. I mean, this is just a movie full of jokes. Like never laughed so much in a Dragon Ball Z movie, and it was really funny, but it was really serious because it was Frieza, and Frieza doesn't really F around. So I definitely love this one. Great action, great comedy, great animation. Definitely excited for what we're going to get from the series. Of course, if you guys have seen the movie, I definitely want to know what you guys think about it. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And, I definitely I think the biggest question for this film is, what did you guys think of Frieza coming back? I mean, this is the first really big villain when you think about it. I mean, we obviously had villains before that, but when Frieza came in, it was a totally different game. It was like, this is the villain for a new planet, basically. Like, once it went to Namek and it was Frieza, it was a whole different ball game. So, Frieza being like that first huge, huge villain, obviously the one that kind of changed the game because it forced Goku to go Super Saiyan, and that was just like be all end all mind blowing moments. Within the DBZ universe. I definitely want to know what you guys think of Frieza coming back. Like, whether you've seen the movie or not, like, what was your first, initial reaction to, holy crap, they're bringing Frieza back, and it's, a whole movie and not just 30 seconds in the first episode of, like, season 2. I think it was season 2 or season 3, however they, were counting it. But, it wasn't just, like, I still remember that when they were doing that on Toonami. It was like, oh, Frieza's coming back. And they were showing, like, the people working on Frieza. I was like, this is going to be amazing. And it was like, here comes Frieza. And here comes the Super Saiyan. Chop, chop, chop. Done. And just, what the heck. So, I definitely want to know your initial reactions to this film when you guys first heard that Frieza was really coming back to life. Because for me, I was like, personally, I just thought that was actually really cool. Because I love Frieza. And I think everyone still does, even though Frieza was so long ago. It's just like, Frieza really was the first really, really big deal. And, it just changed the game. So, I think they definitely did well for the character as far as how the character acted before and how they've kind of kept that in line. And some of the new personality traits, which aren't really new traits, just a couple little things I'll talk about in the other video. But thanks for checking this out. Like I said, I want to know what you guys thought about the movie and, your initial reactions to Frieza finally coming back. So please comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching.